Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm here with my mother Franca, and today my mother is going to show you how to make
la torta di Nonna Parete.
Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm here again with my mother Franca, and today's episode we're going to be doing a traditional Italian coffee cake, which is the part of my father's side. It is my grandmother's cake, and my mother's going to teach us all how to make it.
My mother-in-law used to make this every Christmas, New Year's, and Easter. This is a recipe actually that my mother-in-law taught me many years ago, Nonna Parete, and in our family we call it la torta di Nonna Parete.
Alright, so this is a coffee cake recipe. So what we end up doing is using an Italian biscotti. The ones traditionally that we would use are getting harder and harder to find, so we ended up going with a substitute using the Savoiardi cookie, but I will put a photo up here of the ones that we would traditionally use. And these will be soaked into a mixture of a liquor and coffee that we will show you along the way, and my mother explaining the steps of the creamed butter that will end up being the layers of this delicious coffee cake that, as mentioned, is a tradition in our family, and we will show you step by step on how to make it.
To do this cake, you will need a dish with a high rim. High edge.
It's okay. You just need a dish. Get a dish. So to do this cake, we suggest that you use a baking dish that is high rim, and remember, this is a no-bake cake, so we're choosing to use a nice glass one because it'll be nice for presentation. So we're gonna start to cream the butter. As mentioned, this will be the layer in between the coffee cake, and I'm gonna do this while my mother explains a little bit of when or how she learned to do this recipe, and while she helps me pour some ingredients. So starting off with the sugar?
Yeah, exactly. We start off with the sugar.
Okay. And this is softened butter, right?
Exactly. Room temperature, unsalted, 4 sticks.
Okay.
Now I'll start adding the sugar a bit at a time.
It's great to use a hand mixer because it gives you a little bit more control on getting to the edges, etc. If not, I mean, use what we have, and you would just use a spatula to scrape down and continue going with it. So when did you learn to make this cake?
Actually, 47 years ago. I saw it, there was something different that we don't use in our village. And I asked her to teach me like right away, and I've been doing it for the past 47 years at Christmas, New Year's, and Easter. And sometimes birthdays in between. My children really love this cake.
You want to tell everybody which village your family's from?
We're from Andretta, province of Avellino. And my husband is from Liveri, province of Naples.
So we're almost done creaming the butter and sugar. We just want to make sure that it gets well combined because we don't want to feel any grains of sugar in the butter. We really want it like a smooth texture. So this takes a bit of patience and some arm strength. And if you need a little bit of a break, just switch hand. But you want this as smooth as you can because this is your layered frosting type in between this delicious cake. 4 kids in my family, so we're 3 girls and 1 boy, and we all love this cake. She would make that big batch, that dish that you showed, and we could have split it in 4 and we would eat it all. Morning, noon, and night, anytime we saw it around, it wouldn't last. It wouldn't last till the next day, just the same. So I'm just gonna stop and scrape the edges just to keep everything low so I can continue to mix it properly. So using any type of spatula, I like to use a silicone spatula. It gets everything pushed down a lot easier, and just keeping everything at a little bit more of a safer distance so that we don't have any splatter.
And you need to prepare your frosting before you start dipping your cookies. Because once the cookies are dipped, right away we have to put the creamy butter in between the layers. And also top it with the creamy butter.
So it's starting to get to a little bit of a whipped look, like a whipped butter type of look.
point, I added 2 tablespoons of espresso coffee, room temperature.
So you can use your choice of espresso, whichever flavor, or ground blend, house blend, etc. that you like. We just want to give it that nice shot of espresso flavor, because don't forget, this is a coffee cake, but we will be adding more coffee flavor. You will see at the next steps.
And what's more Italian than espresso coffee? I'm gonna start adding my egg one at a time.
You always want to crack your eggs in a separate bowl also, just to make sure that you don't get any shell into your mixture. So we've been at this for about 3 minutes, just to show it takes a good about 4 to 5 minutes for the creaming to really be done, and for the sugar, just with the room temperature butter and the continuous mixing, to get fully dissolved. And it helps a little bit when the egg is also added in. It combines a lot easier. And you should reach your smooth consistency about a minute or so after the eggs have been added in. So this is the consistency we are going for. Nice, creamy, and no more sensation of the refined sugar is left, and is left nice and smooth. And now my mother is going to show us how to make the mixture that we will be soaking the biscotti in. So my mother's just preparing the ingredients, taking it out. You want to make sure that you have everything that you need out when you start this process, because you will be using your hands. And obviously, don't have to tell you, but I will, make sure you wash your hands. We have our cookies laid out on a tray here. We have a dish that will be creating the mixture of our espresso, and
it's Marsala l'uovo. This is the only one you can use. I tried substituting at times when I couldn't find it. It doesn't work. You really need Marsala l'uovo.
So that is the best liquor to use with the espresso. The espresso, it's any type, again, as mentioned, house blend coffee, whatever espresso that you like. And you need a measuring cup and then some sugar.
Okay. I use a measuring cup because it's the same amount of coffee and the same amount of Marsala.
So
I'm going
equal parts.
Exactly. So I'm going to start with 2 cups of room temperature espresso. There we go. And to the espresso, we'll add 2 teaspoons of sugar.
It already smells really delicious.
The reason why your coffee has to be room temperature, because if you use it too hot, when you dip the cookies, they're just going to disintegrate and they're going to melt. So room temperature is perfect. So you stir till your sugar is melted. All good. And now 2 cups of Marsala l'uovo.
So basically topping off her measuring cup, because it's a 4-cup measuring cup.
Just give it a quick stir. And there we go.
So she uses a low raised edge baking dish to end up dipping, because we find that it ends up being an easier process. Instead of dipping in something narrow and more tall, lower, and with a raised edge, obviously makes it a lot easier for the assembly. And it's a quick dip, right? You're not soaking them for so long.
Quick dip.
A few rolls and that's it. And it's kind of like the same layering like you would a tiramisu, where you're dipping as well, and you're assembling any type of Italian cookie that can absorb your choice of flavoring, liquid, liquor, etc. So a few little dips and placing them all together. Yeah.
There you go.
This smells delicious.
I know. So now you will just, since the cookies have absorbed some of the liquids, now we just push a little bit and we add some more.
So making it easier to condense and combine for a better even layer of a piece of cake for later.
That's right. If you don't have a rim, you can't do that. They would just like slide off the plate.
So we're gonna speed this process up and we will show you right when we get to the buttering stage. So once we are finished the first layer, we will be going back to get our batter and getting back our batter, and then we are gonna use an offset spatula to cream the first layer of frosting, which also smells very delicious. So what I'll use is a regular spatula just to dollop some around, and then I'll use the offset to end up spreading everything.
And it has to be thinly spread. Don't put a thick layer. It has to be thinly spread.
So that should be good enough to
Yeah.
start. So we're gonna start to just use the offset spatula and we are going to spread. As mentioned, a thin layer, but you wanna make sure that you cover everything so that every bite ends up having a good balanced flavor. And if you put too much, well then you just take out, put it back in the bowl and save it for the next layer. Okay.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Get all the corners. So this is the reason why you need to prepare your buttered frosting before you start dipping your cookies.
There we go. First frosted layer. And then you rinse and repeat, and we'll see you when we get to the last layer. So we're back and we're completing the top layer, but what we want to make sure that you guys realize is the bottom layer, like my mother had shown, we were squeezing and putting together because it's a rim dish. You want to make sure that the bottom layer is full. However, with the top layer,
you just lay them on. Like the bottom layer has to be like a foundation, so you could squish like your biscuits a little bit. And at the top layer, since it has to look pretty and you have to present it.
so this is the top layer, just to show you. They are soaked, but we tried to keep them as presentable as possible. And I'm gonna butter it up, and then we're gonna show you how our family traditionally tops it off.
Okay, so the cake is ready to be decorated. So you just take one red, one green maraschino cherry, and alternate.
This is how we traditionally always do the cake.
This is the traditional way my mother-in-law taught me. This is how she always did it, and this is how I continue doing it.
I hope we're making her proud.
I'm sure we are. And it makes me think that she's with us during the holidays. That's why I keep this tradition going. And then she would top them off with colorful sprinkles.
So this will go straight in the freezer. Make sure that you have space so that nothing would, when closing the freezer, go on top of this, etc. This has to freeze frozen solid. This keeps in the freezer until ready to serve, taking it out 1 hour before serving so that you can cut through it good, but it is a cold coffee cake dessert.
After a couple of hours that it's in the freezer, I advise you to take it out, wrap it with plastic wrap, and put it back into the freezer till you're ready to serve it to your guests.
And there we have it. Traditional Italian coffee cake.
La torta di Nonna Parete.
So taking the coffee cake out of the freezer an hour before serving makes for an easier cut, but just to let you know, it is still a cold dessert, but we wanted to show you how beautiful the layers look when you do cut into it. And there we have it, a Nonna Parede's coffee cake. Happy holidays!
Buone feste! Ciao!